For nearly 80 years, one currency has ruled the world. The US dollar, the global king of money. It's been more than just a way to buy and sell. It's been a weapon, a passport, a symbol of American dominance. From oil deals in the Middle East to billion-dollar trade agreements in Asia, the dollar has been everywhere, unchallenged, unshakable. But, the story of the dollar isn't one of eternal power, it's really the story of how dominance is built. And how it fades. In 1944, in a small New Hampshire resort town called Bretton Woods, leaders from 44 nations rebuilt the global financial system from the ashes of World War II. Their solution? Tie every major currency to the dollar, tie the dollar to gold. And just like that, the greenback became the backbone of world trade. Even when that gold link was cut in 1971, the US found a new way to hold the crown. The petrodollar. Oil, the lifeblood of industry, was priced in dollars. If you wanted to keep your country running, you needed America's currency. It was genius, it was absolute, it made the dollar indispensable. But every empire carries the seeds of its own decline, and the dollar's greatest strength, its use as a tool of US influence, may also be the thing that weakens it. When Washington wants to punish a nation, it can freeze bank accounts, block transactions, cut them out of SWIFT, the global payment network. Short-term, effective, long-term, dangerous. Because honestly, each time the dollar is used as a weapon, it teaches the world how to fight without it. From Moscow to Tehran, capitals around the world began building escape routes. Russia now sells oil to China in yuan. Iran barters to avoid dollar transactions entirely, and even United States allies are experimenting with non-dollar trade. These are not random moves, they're calculated acts of survival. And every successful transaction outside the dollar, it just makes the next one easier. And it's not just America's enemies losing faith. Washington's own behavior is eroding trust. Debt-ceiling standoffs, trillion-dollar deficits, political brinkmanship that risks defaulting on the very debt that makes the dollar credible. Foreign bankers watch this and think, if the United States can't control its own finances, why should we bet everything on its currency? The response has been quiet, but clear. Central banks around the world are buying gold at record levels. They're diversifying into euros, yen, and even smaller regional currencies, reducing their exposure to the dollar's political chaos. 20 years ago, the dollar made up over 70% of global reserves. Today, it's about 58, and falling. This isn't panic, this is preparation. China is striking oil and gas deals in yuan. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are talking about a shared currency. Even gold is making a comeback, not as jewelry, but as a geopolitical weapon. The dollar's rivals aren't trying to replace it overnight. They're slowly building a world where the dollar is just one option among many. And then, there's the digital revolution. Central Bank Digital Currencies, or CBDCs, are rewriting the rules of money. China's eCNY is already being used in cross-border trade. Other nations are racing to create their own digital currencies, bypassing traditional banks, and in many cases bypassing the dollar entirely. Meanwhile, decentralized cryptocurrencies are building parallel systems beyond any government's control. Bitcoin, stablecoins like USDC, and blockchain payment rails can send millions in value across the planet in seconds, without touching a single US bank. The future of money may not be paper at all, it may be code, and those who understand it will thrive. Those who don't will be left behind. Central banks, the most conservative institutions in the world, are already shifting. They are the oil tankers of finance, slow to turn, but impossible to stop once they change course. And they are turning away from the dollar. This doesn't mean they expect it to vanish, it means they're hedging their bets. Because in a volatile world, relying on a single currency is a risk no one wants to take. Inflation is another slow killer. When the dollar buys less, it's less attractive as a store of value. For decades, nations held dollars because they could trust its stability. But now, that trust is slipping. Persistent inflation makes foreign governments ask the unthinkable, is the dollar still the safest place for our wealth? The petrodollar's grip on energy is loosening. China is buying oil in yuan. India is paying for coal in rupees. Once energy breaks free from the dollar, other industries will follow. And in the background, technology is quietly building the infrastructure for a post-dollar world, instant settlement systems, blockchain platforms, and payment rails that let businesses trade globally without touching a single American bank. For Americans, the decline won't look like a crash. It will feel like an invisible tax. Imported goods getting pricier. Vacations abroad costing more. Mortgage rates rising as foreign demand for U.S. debt drops. The era when America could print money without consequences ending, and that means individuals, not just governments, will need to adapt. History says reserve currencies die slowly. The British pound took decades to fade after World War I, but shocks can compress decades into years. A sudden crisis could speed up everything. The smart move is to prepare now. Diversify your assets, understand multiple currencies, learn the systems that will dominate tomorrow's trade. The dollar isn't disappearing, it's being demoted. From sole ruler to first among equals in a multipolar currency world. For generations, being dollar-centric was enough. The future will belong to those who think globally, act strategically, and refuse to cling to an old map when the terrain has already changed.